0, 1. Let's get started.
Why they stopping me?
Hello, I'm going to talk about incorporating and demonstrate incorporating compost into your garden beds a little bit and getting it further deep into the soil profile. So back here is the garden bed. You can kind of see where it's been worked up already that I'm going to be working in. So I have it covered with straw right now because when I added compost for the first time, the soil was too moist to be able to work it deeper into the soil. And so now it's finally dried up enough where I can actually incorporate it further deep into the soil profile. So I have my garden beds covered with straw. So the first thing that I'm going to do is remove that top layer of straw. So this garden bed had been previously tilled last year, and this year I just added a pretty hearty dose of compost. One reason why I want to incorporate the compost deeper into the soil is because of that seed to soil contact. So you want to have some of like the soil that's been present in your garden touching the seeds as you plant them. One thing I've also kind of noticed with this compost from Willow Ridge, it breaks down really, really well. But while it is still kind of fresh, I noticed that the top layer of it does tend to dry out a little bit more than kind of deeper in the soil. And so I want to kind of bring some of that soil that is in the top like 4 to 6 inches up to the surface while also pushing some of that compost down deeper into the garden. Because it is very porous and it is adding tilth back into the garden, so it's really good for root movement and root space. But I really just want to be getting that compost into the top 4 to 6 inches of soil and incorporating it a little bit deeper, because right now it's just kind of sitting on top of the soil. So I'm going to go through what I do to add compost deeper into the soil. One thing you'll need is a shovel. So we'll get into that. So starting kind of at the outer edges of my garden bed, I'm going to do my first kind of dig and lift. And I'm digging and just lifting some of that soil out of the bed. I'm kind of just turning it as I'm digging. Gonna get to some new space. I'm gonna push some of this back. So one thing you'll notice is it's pretty clumpy. It's left some pretty decent sized clumps. So I don't want to plant my garden with it all clumpy. I want to have some of this more fine soil. So the next thing I'm gonna do is just kind of using my hands, I'm just gonna kind of break these bigger clumps apart. So now you can really start to see how that has brought some of that soil back up to the surface, as opposed to over here where you're seeing like this is just compost here. So this is kind of bringing some of that soil back up to the surface for that seed to soil contact. And you can notice too, just you'll see kind of the life in your soil. I was noticing earthworms and roots as I was doing this. So that was just also kind of cool to see. Here's one here, little guy. Woo. Where's the camera? So the next tool I'm going to be using is just a garden rake, just to kind of even this soil surface back out and get it flat again. Now that I've done part of that bed, I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of it, and then I'm gonna get into adding fertilizer. So my garden was sufficient in phosphorus and potassium, so this year I'm only going to be adding nitrogen fertilizer, so blood meal or feather meal. It's usually a 12-00 or a 13-00. Given at a standard rate of 15 pounds per 1,000 square feet or 1.5 pounds per 100 square feet. One thing is when you're doing like there's like conversion charts that will show you how many cups are in a pound. And so with blood meal, there's roughly 3 cups that are in 1.5 pounds. So I've got my bag of blood meal here. I actually figured out it's a 14-0-0, so 14 nitrogen. I didn't want to use my kitchen cups, so I figured out this Tupperware. I fits a cup of water, so I was just kind of looking at that like that was a cup. So I'm gonna go and spread this blood meal. Oh, so this is the general application of blood meal, so you're just broadcast fertilizing. So I'll just take my cup, about like that, and then step over here. So now the next thing you're gonna want to do is kind of rake that into the soil, get that a little bit deeper into the soil as well, kind of evenly distributed. Last thing I'm going to do today are to clean and wash off my tools. So I'm going to use my hose to remove any dirt like that, and then I'm going to use a sanitizing solution of 1 part bleach to 9 parts water to kind of spray and then clean with a cloth, clean off my tools, just to help prevent soil-borne diseases. All right, so I am now done adding fertilizer and raking it into the soil. So the last thing you're gonna wanna do is water the fertilizer in. Since it's gonna rain, I'm just gonna let the rain do the watering for me, but you would just want to take your hose and just kind of give it a good little saturation and just kind of water that fertilizer in and help it kind of push down deeper into the soil. I'm finishing up for the day, and so the last thing I'm going to do is cover my bed with straw, and that way it is ready to start being planted. Thanks for tuning in.